Commute.
Number one whenever news breaks during your day.
And number one whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man. It is Wednesday, August 4th, 2021. And my God, NBA free agency is lit. How good is it that we are in August? Now, granted, it's only the 4th of August, Cinco de August. But how good is it to have the NBA at the top of the food chain right now?
Yes.
Like maybe, and it's probably just this year instead of next year because of how late the finals were, but maybe we're going to get year-round NBA.
Maybe. Who knows?
Could be.
Who knows?
A lot of it is the Olympic year. We'll talk about that coming up. Hey, want to remind you, we are giving away a Traeger smoker. Ironwood 650 at 2,500 subscribers here on YouTube. If you're listening on the audio podcast, you're amazing. You're absolutely powering this show. It is incredible, and I know I say this all the time, but it's incredible how many people are listening to our audio podcast right now. We are doing as many numbers as we have ever done on the audio side of this show, and we really appreciate each and every one of you who listens. Come on over to YouTube as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to give yourself a chance to win the Traeger Ironwood 650 and all the trimmings, including pellets and cover. And, Jake will even come over to your house and teach you how to make wings. It's going to be amazing. And all you have to do is hit subscribe, take a photo that you are subscribed, and then tag us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. Us. That is plural.
Yes.
Both Jake and I. You must tag Jake and me, The Monty Show. Monty, The Monty Show is my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Jake is SLC Supercars. Good morning. Hello, everyone. So Dario George says, good afternoon, guys. You scared the shit out of me with this loud intro.
Okay.
You know. Let's see. Making Convo, James Knight, both are in already. James Knight is in early to stir the pot.
Okay.
Joe Ingles sucks. The point is...
Oh, my.
No. We shouldn't start the show.
Don't start the show that way. Don't.
Totally kidding. How we are going to start the show, though, is talking NBA free agency and a stunning day two for your Utah Jazz. Rudy Gay to a 2-year deal. Hassan Whiteside on a 1-year deal to back up Rudy Gobert. These are two starting caliber players in the NBA, Jake. How shocking is it that the Utah Jazz, they're one of the most improved teams in the NBA right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt they've been really aggressive, and I think this is definitely refreshing if you're a Jazz fan. And I think that, we've talked a lot about how, Ryan Smith had a lot to prove this offseason, and he needed to put his stamp on this team, and he needed to get things done. And I feel like now there's no other way to say that he's done just that. He's absolutely done a great job of bringing in talent to help and backfill the weaknesses on this team, but also moving on from some guys who just weren't key contributors like, George Niang and some of these other guys. So I think they've done a great job. I do think that they have surprised a lot of GMs and front offices in the league who are just like, wow, the Jazz are being aggressive this offseason. We're really surprised. And so, I think it's a great time to be a Jazz fan. I have to be honest about it. I think now you're in a position where you actually have some talent coming off your bench. You actually have somebody other than Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench, and I think that's huge. Now, the only area of concern that I might still have is just in the hypothetical world, which would be, if Mike Conley gets hurt, assuming he does, because I do think that's still going to happen at some point, he will miss time, who kind of steps into that role. They have not moved on from Joe Ingles yet, so I don't know if they'll just go with the same old Joe's going to play point when Mike is out game plan. But basically, other than that, I think you're in a great spot. Adding Rudy Gay and Hassan Whiteside really backfill a lot of your needs, and I think you will see Hassan Whiteside a lot. This is not a guy who is going to play the same amount of minutes that Derek Favors did, he's going to play a lot more, in my opinion. He's probably twice the player that Derek is today, and I think the Jazz really need that, and I think this allows them to really protect themselves against that mobile big that we saw them struggle against so much. So I think they had we shouldn't assume that they're done yet, but they've had a hell of a run here so far, and I think that they've done a great job with this roster, and you should be really excited if you're a Jazz fan.
Yeah, and I think for the first time in a long time, you can really say that the Jazz are leading the way in the NBA. And, usually when you get, that kind of traction and you get those kind of headlines, usually it means that you're being financially irresponsible. But, I can also say that I feel like the Utah Jazz have spent wisely here. I mean, there was no doubt you had to add depth to this team. Last year, you had zero depth. You had very little contribution outside of Jordan Clarkson off your bench. And I certainly think with the way that we've seen guys like Joe Ingles slow down a little bit, you had to find quality contributions off the bench, and I think you've done that. I think you've upgraded Derek Favors, certainly with Hassan Whiteside, and there's no doubt now that, Rudy Gay is going to play three positions for you. He can play, from the 3, the 4, in small ball sets, he can play the 5. You can play Rudy Gay and Hassan Whiteside on the floor together, or Rudy Gobert. Like, you have this flexibility now that gives Quinn Snyder the ability to play smaller basketball. It gives him the ability to match up with teams like the Lakers and Clippers when they go smaller, which was something that he simply did not have a year ago. So I don't think there's any question that this roster is better prepared to win than last year's roster. But I look at what's happening in the NBA now, and I look at the LA Lakers, and I say to myself, my God, the Lakers added everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that, there were a lot of jokes made about Carmelo Anthony yesterday on Twitter, and I'm telling you that Carmelo Anthony has turned himself into an elite mid-range player. And he's a guy that showed in Portland he can play with his back to the basket. He can shoot the 3. He can still run the floor. He is a willing passer. I mean, to me, Jake, Carmelo Anthony was a big addition, and they had many big additions, the least of which was not Russell Westbrook, obviously.
Right.
But Carmelo Anthony was a significant addition to that team yesterday.
Yeah, I think Melo is somebody who's always had, the post up, back to the basket game. I mean, I think that's, what he's made his career on. But I think his real improvement and his real shining moment now is that he's able to space the floor. And I think in the NBA, specifically with the Lakers setup, they need that. They cannot have a situation where, Russ or LeBron don't have the ability to drive the paint because they're stacking the paint. That can't happen. So Melo is going to be in the corner, on the wing, in those situations, and he's going to pull those defenders away from the basket because he makes it at such a high rate. So that's his value. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, this is just LeBron bringing in his boy, and, Melo doesn't have a ring yet, and LeBron's trying to change that. And yeah, some of that might be true. It's no secret that, they've been playing against each other since they came into the draft together, but it's also true that they're really close friends. So, I think, yeah, it's partly that they wanted to play together, but I also think a lot of this is that Melo is actually a really good player still. And I think if you watched, when Portland came to town this past season to play the Jazz and they won that game, Melo made a bunch of shots in that game. He had a big impact. And I just think overall, a lot of people are going to say that this Lakers squad is old and they're going to be injury prone and they're not going to be able to survive. And I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think that they have to play the right way. They have to play smart. They got to play team basketball, and they'll be fine. But Carmelo Anthony will contribute for this team, and I'm telling you, it's more than just LeBron signing his boy.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that you have to consider, and you also have to consider now the way business is being done in the NBA. There's no doubt in just about anybody's mind. Like this, the Lakers situation's a good example. The Jazz situation's a good example. NBA sources last night were telling us that, there's shock around the league at how aggressive that the Utah Jazz have been, and that two factors really played into their ability to close on a guy like Rudy Gay and also Hassan Whiteside, who, by the way, we're told both of those guys had multiple suitors. The story is that, Dwayne Wade's influence and the desire to play with Donovan Mitchell were two of the biggest factors in getting Rudy Gay and Hassan Whiteside on this roster, signing contracts in Salt Lake City. Like, that's a big deal in terms of who the Jazz have always been and who the Jazz are turning into. And when we talk about the Utah Jazz, this is a complete departure from what we've always seen. And certainly in the last decade, under Gail Miller and Dennis Lindsey, I mean, the conservative nature of this organization is why they did not win. The talent, I think, at times has been here. The money and the support and the what's the right word? The fortitude of the ownership group was not always here. And, Dennis Lindsey has a lot of moles, but listen, that's a guy that didn't always have free hands to do what he wanted to do. And I'm not saying he did a good job with the moves he made, because clearly he did not. Mm-hmm. But what you're seeing now is you're seeing Ryan Smith surround himself with guys who know how to do what he wants to do. Because Ryan Smith doesn't know how to build an NBA franchise. He doesn't know how to go out and get NBA free agents. But what he does know how to do is to hire smart guys like Dwayne Wade and Danny Ainge to be around him. You have smart guys like Justin Zanuck, who clearly is in like mind and lockstep with Ryan Smith.
Definitely.
And you surround yourself with those guys, and you let them do their job. You say to them, hey, you handle the basketballing, I'll handle the check cutting. And I think certainly now it is a little surprising, and there are NBA executives and people in NBA circles that are surprised the Utah Jazz are so willing to continue to stack luxury tax onto to their payroll. And frankly, I'm one of those guys, Jake. I'm really surprised that there is so much willingness at this early stage in his ownership to pay luxury tax.
But what surprises you about it? Just from like just from like a traditional standpoint, just from like hey, this guy's a new owner, so you would think that he wouldn't be ready to do that kind of thing, or what?
No, I think when you are a titan of business the way that Ryan Smith has been, mm-hmm. And there's no doubt with what he did and how he flipped Qualtronics that he is a very smart businessman and good with numbers.
Yes.
You don't generally just come in and flash cash. You don't walk into the strip club and say, hey, look at my brick of, $1 billion bills. Like, that's not the way you do business,
Do you
right?
think that's what he's doing here, though? Because I kind of feel like it's one of these situations where, you said something there a minute ago that I really agree with, which is Ryan Smith is really smart at business, meaning that he understands that he's not the president of basketball operations. He's not the guy that knows, players and what player is going to do this and that. But what he does know is that he's got guys around him who do know that, and if he trusts them and if he funds them and feeds them, basically if he waters the plant, that this team is going to get better. And that to me is kind of the takeaway that I have. I look at, I guess I just don't agree that he's coming in here and flashing a bunch of money and trying to be boisterous about it.
But understand what I mean by that.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is he's coming in and he's spending significantly more money than this franchise and this market has ever bore.
Yeah, and I think that's the right thing to be doing. That's where they are.
I would, and when has that ever worked out in sports? And whether you go to F1 teams who show up and all of a sudden spend billions and they don't win, or you go to the New York Yankees who spend billions and don't win. Generally speaking, when you walk in the front door and all you're doing is buying everything and everyone, there is a lull there. This team, the Utah Jazz, I mean, listen, they're one of the what are they, 6-8 teams right now? I think there are 9 teams that are paying the luxury tax.
But read some of the figures of the highest taxpayers in the league right now.
The Brooklyn Nets are paying $125.9 million. They are $38.2 million into luxury tax.
Okay.
Number 2 is Golden State. $34 million in the luxury tax. Their tax bill as a repeat payer, a repeat offender, is $139.2 million.
Okay.
And then it falls off precipitously to the Chicago Bulls, who are $25 million in, and their bill is $67.7.
Uh-huh.
It goes to the Miami Heat at 4, who are $16.6 million in, or $16.1 million in, and they're paying $32.5 million in luxury tax. The Milwaukee Bucks are $12.7 million in, and they are paying $23.1 million in luxury tax. Then you have the Lakers at $10 million over, $16.3 million in luxury tax. And then you have the Utah Jazz, 7.5 today. This is only numbers, by the way, today. $7.5 million, their luxury tax bill right now is $11.9 million.
So,
in a market where you don't have one of the top revenue-generating arenas, because you don't, and you don't have the revenue streams. You don't have your own. You have a terrible TV deal. You don't have a digital rights deal. You don't have, like one of the things that you see in commonalities here. You look at Brooklyn. The Warriors have it on NBC Sports Bay Area. You look at Boston's got it. All these big market teams that are paying the luxury tax. Chicago, the Bulls absolutely have it. They have 24/7 television programming dedicated to them. I can tell you the Lakers are the model for that with Sportsnet LA. And, I mean, the Dodgers and the Lakers have year-round programming, behind the scenes, specials, training camps, summer league, at the draft, following LeBron around, LeBron the industry guy. The Jazz don't have that. That's all money they're not making. They're not making Staples Center money. They're not making Barclays Center money.
But how do you get there?
Well, how you get there is, I think that's where you have to spend your money. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when they re-upped with AT&T, which is just a dog shit TV deal.
Yeah.
But it's not a dumb decision. I think it's where they are, though. Ryan Smith is just now getting his hands around this franchise, or at that point was. And a lot of people said, hey, that's a dumb decision. You got to have a TV deal. What I'm telling you is this is not a dumb decision. It's who you are and where you are. It's not where you're going or who you're going to be. Paying $20 million in luxury tax is a mistake right now. And that's the only pause that I have. I'm not saying they've made a single mistake. I don't believe they have. You've got to get your financial house in order. You got to have a TV deal, got to have a streaming deal, got to have a rights deal. Got to have they do pretty well on Twitter, but they need to produce. They need to have a TV production in-house that produces unique live content that follows Donovan Mitchell throughout his summer. That when he was hurt, what Kobe did. I mean, following Kobe around on his rehab was one of the greatest Showtime specials I think anybody's ever seen. Mm-hmm. People ate that up. Can you imagine if the Jazz had been able to follow Donovan Mitchell around rehabbing his ankle?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think that would be great. It would, but I don't know. I guess I find myself feeling like, you can't do everything all in 1 year, and winning cures all, right? You can't tell me that going to the NBA Finals, even if you didn't win the NBA Finals, but just making a trip to the NBA Finals, you can't tell me that they wouldn't make a ton of money off of that. You can't tell me that wouldn't bring more revenue in.
Of course you would. But then that brings you to this other question.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Jazz legitimate NBA championship contenders right now?
Yes, I do think they are. Now with their depth, I think they are.
So you believe that Hassan Whiteside and Rudy Gay have made them a championship caliber team?
Yes, because I think now you have someone coming off the bench who's worth a damn. Now you're not talking about George Niang coming off the bench and giving you meaningless minutes in games of leverage. You're talking about you're talking about a guy in Hassan Whiteside who, I'm not saying he's 20 and 10 every night or anything like that, but what I am saying is that he can come in and make a difference for you, where Derek Favors wasn't doing that. That's not what it was.
And I think, unfortunately, if you look at some of the other teams that have spent a lot of money, I mean, you have a lot of those teams that have younger players that are the core of their team.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lakers, unfortunately, the Lakers are that team where you don't have to worry about how much money you spend. The Lakers are just a revenue-generating machine. That's an ATM machine there. So I think you kind of throw that out. I would just be cautious and careful with how much luxury tax you pay. I mean, you're a billionaire. You've got the money. I totally get that. But you didn't become a billionaire by just giving your money away.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be argumentative about it. I just think that they're not in a position as a team to. I don't think that they're in a position as a team to just kind of run out here and be be, super mediocre or anything. I think they feel a lot of pressure to like Ryan Smith, in my opinion, feels a lot of pressure to win and to be successful on the court. And I think that, coming into an organization that's in this position, because it's not like he acquired the Jazz when they were a lottery team. It's not like that. It's not like he has, year after year after year to just be bad right now. That's not where the organization is at, and that's not where the expectation of anybody on the team is at. You know what I mean? It's not like Donovan Mitchell is going to be cool with being, a borderline playoff team like, let's say, the Warriors were last year, No,
not at all. And by the way, that's not at all what I'm saying. And I just want some caution. Mm-hmm. Because these situations when...
What's worst case scenario, though? Like, okay, so let's say that he does... Let's say that, that he's just been throwing money at this thing, and he's been pretty like willy-nilly with it. He's not really cared too much about how much they're spending. I mean, what is the worst case scenario or repercussion for that?
Injuries, and then you don't have the money to backfill those injuries. Mm-hmm. That's in the case of the Utah Jazz. And you know what? A lot of people have asked me about, like, are they going to make more moves? I have to think there's other moves in the works. And if they're not now, they'll be at the deadline. I think Joe Ingles is the guy that everybody talks about, and it's simply because he's an expiring contract making $13 million.
Why would you not move him?
Well, and I think there's a lot of value in moving him at the deadline.
Yeah.
Or leading up to the deadline, because you have to. One of the things you have to do here is you have to wait and figure out how this team comes together. And again, I think when you have a guy like Justin Zanuck, who's clearly proving himself to be a very good executive, and you have a guy in Dwayne Wade whose value has already been paid for 10 times over.
Yeah.
And who knows, really, there's a lot of people wondering what Danny Ainge is doing, or if he is working, or, how is he advising Ryan Smith? I don't know at this point. But what I'm saying is whatever they're doing is working. You don't have to go and make another move. Mm-hmm. And when I say another move, another major move. You're going to sign your draft picks. You're going to have your young guys. By the way, Summer League yesterday was not very pretty. Jarrell Brantley, I think, showed out. You had some good moments on the guys you expect to have some good moments. So you're going to have some young guys on this roster. The worst thing that could happen here, worst case scenario, is a repeat of the injuries from last year. Because, again, I still think now your biggest concern is depth at point guard. Mm-hmm. Because if Mike Conley gets hurt, you're relying on a very young guy that's unproven in the NBA, who you just drafted, to come in and make a big impact right away. And other than that, you're going to put Don on the ball. You're going to put Joe Ingles on the ball. That concerns you a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because now power forward and point guard are the two positions where you really want to find somebody to upgrade those positions. Like we were talking about before the show this morning, who are your starting five right now? Because if you sign Rudy Gay, and Hassan Whiteside certainly is not going to start over Rudy Gobert, but I think I can make a pretty strong argument that Rudy Gay should be one of your five best players on your roster.
Yeah, well, we know who three of them are, right? So we know that it's Don, Bogey, and Rudy. We know.
I would agree with that.
We know that we have those three that are going to be starting every single night, no matter what. And so I think, I then look at the other two, and you're like, all right, well, if Conley's healthy, yes, he's going to be starting. So for the first 20 games, it'll be those four. You figure at least it'll be those four. And then the fifth guy, I don't think it's actually a lock that Royce is going to start. I think that they need to take a serious look at who they're playing on a nightly basis and where Royce slots in, because I think, I do think there will be times that Rudy Gay starts. I think he brings pretty solid defense. He definitely brings great mid-range, and he brings size, which I think is huge. That's the other thing with Royce O'Neal. I'm not saying he's undersized, but he's not plus size for his position, So Rudy Gay definitely brings good size to his position. So I just think that at the end of the day, this is how I like to characterize what the Jazz have done. Last year we had this past team that got knocked out. One of the main complaints that Quinn Snyder had, and that we had, was that he didn't have enough ways to win ball games. He didn't have enough answers. There wasn't enough flexibility in the roster. He was playing with one hand tied behind his back. Well, now, for the most part, outside the point guard position behind Mike, I think that's taken away now. That excuse is gone, because you now have a mobile big. You now have a guy in Rudy Gay that can play, damn near 4 positions. He's probably not going to play point guard much, but he can play 3 positions if you really ask him to. So, you know, you have flexibility in what you can do with this roster. So I just think that at the end of the day, yes, I'd like to see them move Jingles and go and get a point guard, that a legitimate, proven, you know, Austin Rivers level kind of backup. But, you know, other than that, I think they've done a great job and they're in a good spot.
Yeah, we'll see. It's certainly a delight to be sitting here talking about the Jazz spending money and the Jazz, you know, being aggressive, being one of the leaders in the free agent market, because it has been a long time. Man, it has been probably 15, 20 years since, I mean, you can point to some one-offs, the Carlos Boozers of the world. Like, you can point to some one-offs where the Jazz were super aggressive. Mm-hmm. Usually the Jazz are on the wrong end of this. Usually it's Gordon Hayward leaving so it's nice to be sitting here talking about the Jazz being one of the leaders in the market of NBA free agency. I just think if you're a Jazz fan, this is really encouraging.
Yeah.
All right, let's get some of your comments in here. James Knight says, I'm agreeing with everything you say today, guys. Okay, which usually means he won't. Brylark says, morning, boys. How much of this aggressiveness is Ryan Smith influence aided by Dwayne Wade? I don't know that the aggressive attitude is influenced by Dwayne Wade. I think I've heard repeatedly that Dwayne Wade has had a major impact on guys' willingness to listen, and the sales pitch is what's closing. Playing with Donovan Mitchell, being around an organization that is all in, that's one thing that absolutely has changed in the last year. The Utah Jazz are all in on winning a championship.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. There is no argument about that. Macon Convo says, you guys are perfect and never wrong. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Well, finally somebody understands the base of this show.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, by the way, we're also good looking. Richard Wingett says, really enjoy listening. Thanks, Richard. Appreciate that. Brandon Whiteside says, Whiteside, what a great name. Can't wait to get a jersey. Exactly. Brandon, this is probably a little perverse. I thought about you last night while thinking about Hassan Whiteside.
Having fun is the name of the game.
That's what I'm saying. Gabe Ledley says, come for the Jazz negativity, stay for the vaccine brainwashing. Let's go. Good to see you, Gabe. Appreciate that. Cody Strickland says, good morning, guys. I missed a lot, but was finishing up an episode of Growcock getting Xbox because of his name. Yeah. WTF. How about the other 1,499 people who signed up waiting for the draw?
Hey, bro, you weren't here on that day, dude. You were not here on that day. You don't know what happened, my guy. There were probably 40 people who wanted him to win it.
There was a movement.
There was absolutely a migration of people who wanted him to win it.
There was a lot of support for that growing cock. So just realize.
And by the way, I'd just like to point out the $112 I spent shipping it to Australia. Yeah, so it's not like
we paid a hefty price for that, Mo, man.
Yeah.
I mean, my God. James Knight said, is the prerequisite to be on the Lakers roster that you need to be a 30-something? Well, you have to show that A, you're vaccinated, and B, you're a member of AARP. Cody also says, I hate the NBA free agency right now. Yeah, Jazz got 2 decent picks, but maybe Aaron Rodgers should request a trade to the Lakers or the Nets.
Okay.
Seriously. We need at least one backup point guard to make this a good offseason for us because we know Conley's going to be hurt at playoff time.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how this team goes about their physio work. How are they going to go about load managing, training? Mike Conley, a few days ago I had heard that he really wants to prove he can stay healthy for a season. Well, I'm hoping that means that he is going to invest in his hamstrings. Because that's what's plagued him. I would hope that he would invest in, his soft tissue management and strength, flexibility, dexterity, like all of those things that have plagued Mike Conley. Let's hope that he invested in those to show that he can stay healthy. Tanner Plummer says it's strange that you guys are talking positively about the Jazz. LOL. Just kidding. Okay. Just kidding. Do we support trading Ingles? What available deals are there? I do support trading Joe Ingles because he has value. Joe Ingles, though, and I think this is one of the things that gets lost in these conversations, Joe Ingles is a really good teammate. he is one of those glue guys on this roster that when there's 38 seconds to go in the game and you're trying to figure out how you're going to, do X, Y, and Z, and the coaches are huddled up, drawing up a play.
Yeah.
Joe Ingles is that guy that will pipe up and have the right thing at the right time to say to this club and to this huddle. And in practice, he keeps it light, and he presents Jordan Clarkson with his Sixth Man of the Year award, and there's a real value in those guys. And I hope that when we're talking about trading a guy like Joe Ingles, I hope that we all have that as part of this conversation, because you cannot put a value on that. You cannot overstate the value of Joe Ingles, the statesman, to this organization, because it's massive. It's huge. It's as much as Donovan Mitchell, and I don't know that people realize that.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely an important player to the team, but I think if you want to win a championship, you're going to trade Joe Ingles. And I say that because at the end of the day, yes, all of what you just said is true, but at the end of the day, you can't be loyal in sports. You know what I mean? It's cool that he's a glue guy. It's cool that he does all these intangible things, but at the end of the day, if you want to win a championship, you got to have someone coming off the bench behind Mike Conley who's capable of starting.
That's right.
And so I don't, respectfully to Joe Ingles, I don't really give a damn if he's a glue guy on this team. I care about what I'm going to do 35 games into the year when we're 5 back of the Lakers because we've been struggling a little bit and Mike Conley's hurt, and that's why we've been struggling. What's the answer to that question? Because having no answer is not going to be good enough. We've already been through that. Yeah. And having no answer behind Mike Conley makes all these phenomenal signings worthless, because you're not going to be the team that you should be without a quality point guard.
I agree. Brandon Whiteside says Suns and Lakers spend and they're amazing. Jazz do it and they're making a mistake.
Bro, are you even listening to the show? Like, legit, bro. Like, are you even listening to what we're saying?
You cannot compare what the Suns and Lakers are doing to the Jazz. And by the way, I would remind you that it's not like the Suns threw a bunch of money all over the place.
We just said a bunch of positive stuff about the Jazz, and you're sitting here saying that we're saying negative things about the Jazz.
The Lakers, I think I just detailed this.
Yeah.
The Lakers make more money taking a dump than the Jazz make in an entire month. They accidentally make money like every 5 minutes. And they're the Lakers. They're a heritage, long-time foundational brands, man. I mean, they're the Montreal Canadiens. They're the Green Bay Packers. They're the Lakers. You cannot compare yourself to them. Cannot compare yourself to the Knicks, who have been terrible and still make tons of money. Mm-hmm. You can't compare yourself to those teams.
Boston Celtics, dude.
Yeah, compare yourself to Miami, Orlando, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Portland, Denver. Those are the teams you compare yourself to. And right now, when you are as transitional as you are, and I think the Jazz are in transition.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, I think every phase of their business is in transition. You are learning how to do, if you're Ryan Smith, you're learning how to run an NBA franchise.
Right.
If you work for Ryan Smith, you're learning how he wants to run his franchise. If you are in the basketball ops department, if you're Justin Zanuck and everybody that's around him, you're learning how Justin Zanuck wants basketball operations run for this team, and you're learning, what you're going to do versus what you've always done. Everything about this team is in transition. The marketing, the money, the dollars being spent, all of that is in transition. And until you come out of that, you're not really going to have an idea of what your typical modus operandi or way that you operate is. So it worries you a little bit when you're already paying a significant luxury tax bill.
Yeah.
And when the owner of the team is tweeting about Joe Ingles, that worries you a little bit, because that shows you it's a two-sided coin. It's the Harvey Dent coin. Well, one side of it is, hey, he's willing to spend a ton of money. That's great. Cool. The other side of it is, well, he's willing to spend a ton of money. Oh, shit, what are we going to do when in 2 years this luxury tax, we're a repeat offender on the luxury tax, and we can't afford to go and get Rudy Gay or Hassan Whiteside? Mm-hmm. Or we're mediocre. What happens if you spend all this money in the luxury tax?
Yeah.
What if you don't win?
You tried. You did everything you could.
What if you don't win, though?
You did everything you could.
It was all for nothing. And this is why I've said for months and months, Suffer now so you can win 3 rings in 10 years. That's what this is about. It's not about winning right now today. Going back to the Western Conference playoffs is not good enough. Beating the Memphis Grizzlies is not good enough. Losing to the Clippers is not good enough. Not going to the finals, not going to the NBA finals is not good enough. You have to win a championship. You know what the problem with that is? You don't have a Giannis to just hand the ball to and get me 50. You don't have that guy.
See, now people would disagree with you. Like, I know there are definitely people out there who would say that Don is that guy.
He's not that guy. Donovan Mitchell's not the guy that you hand the ball to and say, get us 50 and dominate the entire game and let's go win a championship. Because you know what you don't also have at this very moment in time? Who's your PJ Tucker?
Mm-hmm.
Think about who's your Drew Holiday? Who's your Chris Middleton? Do you have a Chris Middleton on this team?
No.
You don't. And so what the Bucks did was they used everybody they had. Pat Connaughton, they used everybody they had. Brooke Lopez, Bropez. Like, you used everybody you have, and pretty much everybody that played on that roster gave you something.
Bobby Portis
gave you huge minutes and big threes.
That's what I'm saying. You have to have depth behind Mike Conley. It just is not a negotiable if you want to win an NBA championship.
And again, I know that I can already see people saying that Don's better than, well, I'm telling you, he's not better than Giannis because Giannis has a ring and Don doesn't. I mean, it is that. Do you understand?
By the way, Giannis is an MVP. We'll just point that out.
So when I was getting the finger in the butt yesterday,
wow.
Wow. I mean, when I was getting the physical,
that's HIPAA?
Yeah, that's HIPAA. I was getting my physical yesterday.
Wow.
And it turns out that the doctor's a huge Jazz fan, who had actually heard of our show, by the way.
He'd heard of our show.
Yes, he had heard of our show, and you know what the funny thing is? He's like, I always wanted to come by K-Fan and get one of those free lottery tickets.
Yep.
He never did. Anyway, the point is we were talking about Giannis's knee. And he's like, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody hurt their knee like that and then come back and score 50. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Neither have I. Neither has anybody.
Nobody has, yeah.
The point is, the Milwaukee Bucks, and I don't care who was injured, and I don't care. It's awfully convenient to say, oh, Brooklyn was injured. And you were all like, oh, they bought their champion. Like, it doesn't
Can't
matter.
have it both ways, boss.
It doesn't matter. The Milwaukee Bucks won a championship because of Giannis and their core role players doing their jobs.
Chris Middleton, dagger at the end of the last game.
Oh, and that's what worries you. This Jazz team doesn't have that yet. Now, when we get to April and May, will they have it? I would certainly like to think so. They have a bunch of veterans on this team now who know how to mentor guys because, one of the guys I think that needs to change his mentality is Bojan Bogdanovic.
Yeah.
Right? And there's nobody better to do that than Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay is a 86-year veteran in the NBA who is going to impact your younger players. Look at Jarrell Brantley last night. Jarrell Brantley needs some mentoring, right? Elijah Hughes needs some mentoring. Udoka Azubuike looks heavier to me, by the way. He's got a lot of junk in the trunk.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't played 5-on-5 basketball in 8 months.
Yeah, he needs some mentoring.
He needs reps.
So, for me, I think you have to find a way to build chemistry on this team. But here nor there.
Okay, now before you read all these comments,
yeah,
I just want to do the classic, take a wild guess at what's in the comments right now.
Okay.
Because I can't see them, and I'm just going to go ahead and take a guess that Jazz fans are all pissed off that you just said that Donovan Mitchell is not a go and get 50 guy. Just a guess.
Yeah, but a bunch of those have been blocked.
Oh, okay.
YouTube removed a bunch of comments. Oh, Mark J. Wow, Mark J. back in the hizzy. What's up, Mark? Good to see you. He says, great show, guys. Good to be back watching after, oh, wow, being in the ICU with COVID.
Oh, damn.
Oh, no.
Are you back home?
Did you guys see the percentages that came out? 93% of all COVID cases in the U.S. are now Delta variant.
The coronavirus.
93%. Put a mask on, my friends. Put a mask on. Mark J., 2 questions. Was it Delta, and how do you know where you got it? He also says, will the recent signings get the Jazz to the Western Conference Finals? That's hard to say because we got to wait and see what happens with Kawhi and the Clippers. You got to wait and see how Golden State comes together. I mean, I think the Lakers are the best team in the NBA. I mean, if now they're all, again, those guys are all, going to show up with osteoporosis and walkers for pregame warm-up.
Don't be rude.
No, I'm trying not to, sir. I apologize. The Lakers are older, but my God, they filled everything they needed to fill. I mean, you got a tremendous asset in. I mean, just about every one of those signings was like, wow,
Yeah.
whoa,
Let's go.
like my God, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? And
Being the Lakers, bro.
I look at the way that now again, if we're talking about real numbers, the Lakers are actually in a pretty good place financially for who they are in the way that they operate. But I look at some of their stuff.
Yeah.
That Talon Horton Tucker returns, that deal's done. That they went and got a young guy like Kendrick Nunn.
That was a out of the blue signing.
That was
legit.
a wow. Carmelo Anthony, Trevor Ariza, Wayne Ellington, 42% 3-point shooter. Those don't grow on trees. That Dwight Howard, who by some estimations had 10 teams chasing him, went back to the Lakers. He wants to win another ring. Kent Bazemore, Malik Monk from Charlotte.
Yeah.
Malik Monk's a baller.
Yeah.
I mean, like him, Kendrick Nunn, that's the deepest.
And that's the great thing, though. All those guys, they don't have to be key contributors. They can be role players, which is great. That's what you want.
That's the deepest Laker team I think I've seen in some years.
Yeah.
Like they legit have 10 guys that can do the deal.
But again, we this is all with the assumption that Anthony Davis and LeBron and Russ and all these guys stay healthy. That's the assumption, And I would assume LeBron would be healthy. This is the first offseason he's had to really chill in a while, many years. AD is the guy that I'm really worried about, man. I mean, that groin and the leg issues plague him, and I just don't know.
I have to think that LeBron has gotten into him.
Well, we'll see.
I mean,
don't know,
you
dude.
can't. Anthony Street Clothes Davis.
After the Street Clothes Davis.
Shut up. Anyway, the point is, I'm not a Charles Barkley guy at all.
Leave. You can stay and shut up and act like an adult.
Yeah, for once, Chuck. My feeling is that when I look at Anthony Davis and the way that roster's built, I have to think LeBron has said to him, do you want to win or do you want to just show up every year? And I got to believe, because I look at their roster, LeBron, AD, those guys are your core, and right there, you're in good shape, right? And then I look at the fact that I don't even know who you start. Okay, well, you're clearly starting Russ, so those three are going to start together.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and then who do you start on top of that? I mean, I would have to think Trevor Ariza is going to get a real serious look at being a starting four for them. Mm-hmm. You need shooters around him.
Yeah, Wayne Ellington's definitely going to start.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see who starts and how that works. Carmelo Anthony's the sixth man. He's a bench player.
Yeah.
But they have incredible depth. They have guys that you can leverage. They can run up and down. I mean, they have everything that you want. And all those numbers, when you look at veteran minimums, how many of those guys are making $1.67 million?
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Most of them. And, now some of that is that, hey, they didn't have to go and pay DeMar DeRozan. They didn't have to go and pay. Rudy Gay was I think,
hot to trot to be a Laker.
I think the Lakers were his first choice. Well, he didn't wind up there, and that's a win for the Utah Jazz. So my point is, I think it's going to be very difficult. The Suns are going to run it back fully intact. And now that Chris Paul has had this wrist surgery, he should probably be ready for, November, December.
I'm telling you, what are we sitting here talking about in generalities?
Every team around the Jazz got better.
And the Jazz got better, too.
They did.
So that's what I'm saying. The entire Western Conference has improved. And I think that for the Jazz, again, I'm telling you guys right now, the expectation shouldn't be the 1 seed. The expectation needs to be the 3 seed, because I don't think that the Jazz right now today we can't definitively say that they're the best team in the Western Conference right now. We have to see how the LA teams come back together. We really, to your point, have to see what Golden State is like. We have to see what, a lot of these different teams are like. Now, I do think a positive for the Jazz right now is they're going to have the team chemistry. They don't have to worry about, they're bringing in Russell Westbrook and playing with a new core and all this, They have most of their guys back.
Yeah. Red Heart Norvis says, Drew, and there's 2 sentences here. Drew Holiday was awful in the playoffs. Okay, so he did not shoot the ball well, but did anybody play better defense? Did anybody impact the Bucks, beyond Giannis? Did anybody impact the Bucks more than Drew Holiday?
And he had a massive performance in the last game.
I don't think so. Drew Holiday was awesome defensively. Vinay Bandamakur. I got that wrong.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, seriously. Do you guys think the Jazz should have gotten a big who can spread the floor rather than another shot blocker in Hassan Whiteside? Well, what I say about Hassan Whiteside is Hassan's got a little jumper, and he finishes well around the rim. The thing that Hassan Whiteside gives you is a guy that can play outside the paint. He can defend 4s and 5s. He can block shots. He can rim protect. He's a 15 to 20-minute guy a night, though. And what that does is that keeps Rudy Gobert out of foul trouble. Last year when Rudy Gobert got into foul trouble, Derek Favors got exposed a little bit, especially in the playoffs in the pick and rolls. That's why Derek played so few minutes in that Clippers series because, Derek Favors can't defend Ivica Zubac.
Yeah.
It's that guy. Derek Favors, can't go out and defend a Nick Batum. Well, Hassan Whiteside can do that for you. When the Clippers roll out Nick Batum at the 5, well, he can go and do that for you. When Ivica Zubac is the guy in the game, he can go and do that for you. Now, nobody guards Anthony Davis because he plays inside and out. Well, Hassan Whiteside can actually go and stand in front of him and either foul him or physical him, which right now Rudy Gobert hasn't shown the ability to do that. So you're a lot more comfortable with that. I think Hassan Whiteside is actually a really good, it's a shocking signing, frankly. I mean, Hassan Whiteside, by all accounts, could have, certainly the Dallas Mavericks were interested. I don't think there's any question that 3-4, are you telling me that all the rumors about Hassan Whiteside to Philadelphia were empty? I mean, there were teams that were after Hassan Whiteside. It is, the word is shocking. It is a shocking win for the Jazz that Hassan Whiteside is wearing the note.
Yeah, it's great, man.
I mean,
it's great.
It really is. Mark J., funny story. Got COVID attending the final Jazz home game against the Clippers. Had full symptoms within 4 days of going to that game. Lower bowl seats, great game. Did you wear a mask? Jake and I went to several games at the end of the year, and I thought they did a great job spacing.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason we didn't buy playoff tickets is because they opened up the entire building. So we didn't go to the playoff games, and we didn't give away playoff tickets because we kind of sat together and talked about that we didn't feel comfortable going to a full building like that.
Yeah.
Because there were no vaccination checks, and it was just a little uncomfortable to me. And you're about the 7th or 8th guy who's told me he got COVID at the Jazz game.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's why we're not playing pickup basketball right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a little unnerving that Delta variant is an ass kicker, man. It is. It's not good. Eric C. says, I'm devastated Jack is leaving my villa to join City.
Okay,
yeah,
no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
We ain't got an EPL time today. Chelsea Football Club forever. Jeremy Bolton says, just curious, were you vaccinated or were you going to get the vaccine after this? Yeah, Mark, so you got to let us know this.
Yeah, we have to know now.
Are you vaccinated? Which my guess is you weren't, because if you wind up in the ICU, the chances that you were vaccinated are very low.
Yeah.
And were you wearing a mask? Mark J says, no mask. My wife at the game with me wore a mask and was fully vaccinated. She's fine.
Well,
it ain't rocket science,
Mark,
yo.
I love you, bro.
I'm glad
really
you're
do.
okay, man.
I really am.
We appreciate you being here. Wear a mask. All right, I feel better. You definitely wore a mask if it was here in L.A. Yeah, you did. James Knight says Patty Mills a great pickup for Brooklyn. He is. He is, and it makes you wonder, is Mike James available? It makes you wonder. Jeremy Bolton, I already read that one. Sorry. Cody Strickland says, I blame our medical staff for Conley being out. If they said Don could play in Game 1, there would have not been Game 5 where Conley got hurt. Conley was never healthy. I mean, this goes back to the back-to-back with the Timberwolves late in the year.
Yeah.
He was never the same guy after that. And hamstrings are really difficult to deal with. I mean, this is James Harden, Kawhi Leonard at one point, Kevin Durant at one point. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a reason that soft tissue injuries happen, and it's
after the street clothes Davis.
It's a lack of ability to train your body. The biggest factor in being healthy is rest. It is the single biggest factor. Because notice none of these guys are fatties who are out of shape that, blew a knee because you're fatty. Like Kevin Durant's in remarkable shape. James Harden is in the best shape of his career.
Unless he's leaving Houston, and then,
And then he's wearing a fat suit under his uniform, which I still think is fascinating.
How dumb do you think I am?
Yeah, pretty dumb. I look at Mike Conley. Mike Conley's in amazing shape unless it's a soft tissue injury. I just think that rest is in every medical profession. My doctor yesterday, we were talking about how my knees feel great and I have no back pain, no neck pain, like all this stuff. And he goes, how much are you sleeping? I said, generally I get about 6 to 6.5 hours a night. And he said, if you would make that 7 to 7.5 hours a night, I think you would see that you would feel much better. You would be much more energetic. Because I was telling him, I get off of work at Yelp at like 6:30 at night. And if I sit down on the couch, I'm asleep in an hour. Like it's over. And so I have stopped doing that. And he said, well, add that extra hour of sleep and see how much more energy you have after work. And, lo and behold, last night, sleep is so undervalued.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. I slept great last night after midnight. Like from 9 o'clock to midnight, like I found myself in an odd position. I've got this tattoo that is taking forever to heal. It's a full color tattoo on my right arm. And so I'm trying to keep it off of my sheets and I'm trying to keep it uncovered so that it will heal.
Yeah.
And so I found myself, I woke up at like 11, and my head was like cocked in an odd direction. And it just was odd the way I was sleeping. And so I rolled over, slept on my left side, and man, I was out until 4:40. I woke up right at 4:40 today. Nighttime pee guy did not visit me, although when I woke up at 4:40, it was a sprint to the John because, my God, I set a land speed piss record this morning. Yeah, that is every day. But I feel great. Like I slept well last night. The night before, I was like nervous going to the doctor. I was dreaming about. I had a weird dream the other night. Like, it's so funny that I had a dream. We were joking about colonoscopies and it being a roto-rooter. I had a dream I was talking to a plumber. And I want to say, I don't know if it's that he was my doctor, but we were talking about roto-rooters with the plumber. It was the craziest dream I've had. I slept terrible 2 nights ago. I'm a worrywart. I really am. I got all my blood work. So if you don't go to U of U Health, you're a fool. They use an app, this MyChart app, and a lot of providers use it, frankly. But I got all my blood work back like an hour, I think it was, after I got home. I had all my blood work in my MyChart app. My blood work's great. It's really good. My CO2 level's a little low, which is concerning, but other than that, which is HIPAA, my blood work was great. My cholesterol's good. My blood pressure's good. Like everything's great. But I'm like, I'm dying, dude. Like I'm walking into the hospital to get my physical yesterday, and I'm like, dude, you're dead. It's over. Like, I mean, where's the crematorium? I should just go down there. Like, why are we going to waste people's time? I'm dead. I'm that guy. Because I knock on wood.
Oh my God.
Like,
dude.
I've been remarkably healthy. I've somehow avoided the Rona to this point. Like the worst thing I deal with is allergies, like seasonal allergies. I asked my doctor about that, and he's like, I bet you didn't have that many allergies in Phoenix, right? It's like, I didn't get the sinus headaches and, but I had postnasal drip, and he's like, the air quality in Utah is so bad. It is bad for your lungs. It is bad for your nostrils. It is bad for your sinuses. And he's like, he said, treat it the way you always have. And he was asking me what I do, and I was telling him, hey, my wife found this Advil allergy sinus stuff. And he's like, yeah, if that works for you, great. Whatever is effective. He's not a believer this one guy's not a believer in nose spray that I was talking to yesterday. So I don't know. You know what? I feel very fortunate to be as healthy as I am. And what's the one thing my doctor said? Hey, you should probably lose some weight. He walks in the room and he's like, hey, fat ass, how are things? What are we doing here? He didn't say that.
I will downsize your face with a shovel!
That's pretty much what I was thinking. The funny thing about going to the doctor yesterday, though, so I go for this physical.
Yeah.
And the nurse comes out to the waiting room and she's like, and you can see she pauses when she sees my first name. And she's like, Timothy? And I'm like, okay. And she's like, hey, how do you pronounce your first name?
Who the f*** is that guy?
And so we went through that whole thing, and I'm walking into the exam room, and she's like, oh, wait, here's the scale over here. It's a truck scale. Okay, it is like a 3 foot wide by 3 foot wide truck scale. And it literally says, hope you enjoyed the donuts on it. So of course I wore yesterday, of course, so I wear shorts and a t-shirt because that's all I ever wear.
Right.
I
and
had
it's all
on
black, of course.
Yes, I had on Jordan 3 red cements, which are the heaviest pair of tennis shoes I own.
Of course.
I had my keys and my phone in my pocket. I'm like, hey, and I said to the lady, hey, can I take off my shoes and I need to put my keys and my phone down. She goes, it doesn't matter.
That's out of the window.
And so I got on the scale, and it was like the scale said error. And, no, it didn't say error. But
people are misinterpreting what I'm saying.
I gained fully 30 pounds during the pandemic.
Yeah, dude, it's legit.
I gained 30.
Yes.
And I've lost weight here in the last, I would say, month and a half.
Dude, when we were running 5-6 days a week in Phoenix, you were down.
I was 50-something pounds less than I am now.
Yeah.
Because we don't play basketball, and, I in Phoenix, I never left my house, frankly. It is butthole hot outside, and with the Rona everywhere in Phoenix, and
it's not the best situation, and we all know that.
I just never left my house. So I've gained 33 pounds during the pandemic.
Right.
And I've lost weight in the last 6 weeks, so I've probably gained more than that. Getting on that scale yesterday was a kick in the nuts. Like, it was just like, okay, here's your wake-up call. And then my wife this morning texts me and says, yeah, I'm not working out. And it's like, are you high? Like, we've just been to the doctor. I'm ready to run through a wall. And she's like, no, I can't get up. Anyway, so I get up. I leave my room this morning at 5:15.
Yeah.
And I go into my shoe room because I have a room for my shoe addiction.
Right.
Pick out my shoes. Today I'm wearing gray Air Max 90s.
Uh-huh.
And I'm about to walk down the stairs, and I hear my wife going, and I'm like, dude, did somebody break in? What is going on? And so I'm like, good morning. And she's like, oh, thigh cramp. Thigh cramp. I can't get out of bed. I fall, and where's the beef? And it's like, okay, holy cow. So like cramps are the worst. My cramp problem is either my left calf always cramps. Mm-hmm. I have pretty well-developed calves because, well, I'm a stud. And it's just because I'm fat, and so my calves have to work hard. But anyway, the point is, I either get calf cramps or I'll get like a cramp in the arch of my foot.
I'm Shiva, the god of death.
And it's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, dude. It's terrible.
Terrible. Eric C. says, I maintain Jake has the most punchable face on YouTube.
Yep.
And it feels good to punch him in the face. I got to be honest with you. I enjoy it.
I will downsize your face with a shovel!
Okay. Logan says, LOL, Suns signed JaVale McGee, so that means the Suns got better. Oh, JaVale McGee's a huge upgrade for them. Let's see. JaVale McGee or Frank Kaminsky? JaVale McGee's not an upgrade to Frank. A shot blocker that runs the floor in catches lobs better than just about any other big in the NBA, JaVale McGee, you don't think he's an upgrade to Frank Kaminsky? He's not an upgrade to Dario Saric? Do you watch the NBA, motherfucker? Yes, the Suns got better. With JaVale McGee is an upgrade to the Phoenix Suns. And by the way, I would remind you, Mikal Bridges is a year older. Cam Johnson's a year older. Cameron Payne, who turned down about 3 other teams to stay with the Suns and take a lot less money to do it. Cam Payne's a year better. They've all been in Monty Williams' system a year longer. Chris Paul is, dude, what are you talking about? If you don't think the Suns are going to be better this coming season than they were last season, you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You're crazy. I'll be interested to see what Devin Booker is this year. I mean, playing Olympic basketball,
got to keep getting better, man.
I'm not a fan of guys going and playing in the Olympics. And I know that Kevin Durant has looked remarkable. They've got Australia, mate.
Yeah, the Joe Ingles show.
By the way, where's all the Australia hate that I was getting the other day? Oh, they're going to kick the crap out of the American women. See you later, bitches. Team USA beat Australia. The women Kangaroos are out.
The women Kangaroos.
Isn't that what they're Roos? Isn't that what they're called?
The Roos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably should stick to swimming, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, listen, Team USA basketball, the demise of Team USA. Now, they may lose. The men may lose to Australia. Their demise was far, far overrated. By the way, I don't think they're going to lose to Australia. I know that Joe Ingles is the best player in the world.
Right.
But, I think Kevin Durant will do okay.
Yeah.
How about Jason Tatum being their 6th man?
Yeah, dude.
Pretty good.
Yep.
Pretty good. That whole story is pretty good. John Collins has agreed to a 5-year, $125 million deal with the Hawks.
Yeah.
So he is going to stay.
He's a nice little player. I enjoy watching him.
I think he is a very nice little player. He is a very, very nice.
He fits well with Trey.
Yeah. Bro, can we stop selling Axe on Amazon?
Yeah. Okay. So how many is it today already?
Like 7. We've sold 67 now. In the last week, it's just, look, I love side hustles, and I love Amazon as a side hustle.
Yeah.
But when you have a product that sells in volume and you're what's called FBM, fulfilled by merchant, it can be exhausting.
You're so fucked.
The guy at Harmon's last night, we used the Harmon's post office.
Oh my God, dude.
I think he wants to kill us. I'm serious. They were closed, and so the manager called him up to make him leave our packages. And the guy just looks at us, and I think he just wants to crush us into ground turkey and eat us in a burrito.
Okay, fuck you.
Yeah, man, he hates us.
He's
I'm
not
convinced.
a fan of us, dude.
I
mean, listen, here's the visual where literally we've got a big shopping cart full of packages, like overflowing with packages.
27 packages.
So it's quite the sight when you roll into Harmon's and you've got a whole shopping cart. I mean,
and then you walk up to the post office, and I believe my exact words were "fuck" because it was dark and it was dark and they were closed.
Oh.
But the manager's like, "Hang on, they're closed." And so she called this dude, and he comes over, and he's just like the Kraken, man.
Do you want to set up the meeting?
And I said to him, "Hey, man, you've saved us 2 days in a row," because he also did the Grow Cock box.
Yeah. Whoa. Grow Cock box?
I had to, and it came out flawlessly. And it took forever to do that. So anyway.
Yeah.
Let's see. Logan says, "Oh yeah, on the take from yesterday, Jazz took the Clippers 6 games and were up 25 in Game 6, and they didn't even sniff the Western Conference Finals."
No, they didn't.
Yeah, no,
it wasn't close.
But did they go to the Western Like last I checked, the Clippers won that game.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, didn't the Clippers win? I could be wrong on this completely, but didn't the Clippers win like 3 in a row or 4 in a row to beat?
And the thing that's amazing to me.
Yeah, the Clippers won 4 in a row to win that series.
Logan is the typical Jazz fan who's willing to be like, "Oh, but we got close. Okay, let me go buy a New Jersey."
Cool. Close doesn't count, bro.
Hey, man, we got close. I got to go buy a new pair of Don's shoes.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Like,
fine.
close-
Someone's got to pay the luxury tax, right?
Close means nothing. And this is why I said earlier in the show, what if you don't win and you paid $13 million in luxury tax at a minimum? Ask yourself that, like, seriously. If you don't win and you're in Salt Lake City and you paid the luxury tax, now what? The Suns actually went to the NBA Finals. And they lost, and a lot of it was defensively. They just got owned. Sure, great, cool. Like one of the commenters was saying how bad your Suns got dominated. Okay, cool. They went to the NBA Finals. They won the Western Conference Finals.
By the way, at least Chris Paul was on the floor.
This is the thing that I don't understand about there's a certain sect of Jazz fans who are like, all right, young guys, good job. We'll see you next year. Where do I sign up for season tickets? Well, man.
Is that a real question?
We only won 12 games. Well, you know what? Dennis Lindsey did such a good job. Like, at some point, you have to raise the level of expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And now the expectation is you're going to win the Western Conference Finals and go to play for a championship. Because losing in the second round, there's no such thing as a moral victory when the luxury tax bill comes due. Oh, well, they tried to win. We shouldn't make them pay the luxury tax. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You almost didn't do anything.
It's not what you tried to do or what you got close to doing. It's only what you did do.
Which is an infamous saying. Like, don't apologize, just don't do it, right? Like, that's one of my favorite things to say to people because I hate when people are like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. What are you apologizing for? What'd you do? Like you almost got there. I don't care what you tried to do. The result is what matters. Anyway. Yeah,
if you felt these balls.
Exactly right, Eric C. If you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah, dude.
Ask Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
James Knight says, I'm guessing you're not coming down to Australia anymore, Monty. I cannot wait to get back to Australia. I need to be allowed to travel to Australia. Right now, we're not allowed to. Eric C. says, forget JaVale. If the Suns had just Saric in the finals, who knows? True. What holes are left on this roster? I think backup point guard, Brylark.
Yeah.
Eric C. says point Jingles. Yeah, I don't see that you have. I think backup point guard is a huge hole on this roster right now.
Yeah.
I think it is. That's one of those things where, you have to look at that. Like this John Collins contract, 5. Do you understand where this guy's come from? John Collins is a great story, but we don't have time for that. Mr. E says, Jazz fans are always cheap. They are fine if they win 55 games and lose in the second round. Haywood noticed that and left. Hayward? Maybe now things are changing. Hopefully things are absolutely changing, for sure. Love that 4-year deal for 36-year-old Chris Paul. He won't get injured. But again, it's not about the 4-year deal. Chris Paul being on your team allows you to do other things. And it allows you to keep continuity on a franchise. Do you guys understand in Phoenix they haven't been relevant in their own town in 10 years? I'm serious. Like, you can buy courtside seats at a Suns game up until last year.
Dude, it used to be that all 4 teams were garbage. Like, terrible.
And now you have the Arizona Cardinals who I think probably are going to compete for that division, and you have the Phoenix Suns who went to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
So you have to change it. Not to be redundant, if you do the same thing you've always done, you're going to get the same result you've always gotten.
Yeah, man.
And the Suns changed the way they did business, so have the Jazz now.
Yeah.
You don't have to be bitter or annoyed by it. It just...
It pisses Jazz fans off. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it upsets Jazz fans that the Suns beat them to the NBA Finals.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where you simply are just going to have to wait and see how this team comes together. It's great to be able to watch, the Brantleys, the Hughes, the Azabukis, like seeing Udoka Azubuike on the floor, like running up and down healthy is a good sight.
Everybody was ripping him for being overweight, and I do agree that he is overweight, but you got to understand, I mean, the guy legit has not seen 5-on-5 action in 8 months, man.
But no, he was healthy at the end of the season. He needs conditioning. You could see he was sucking air. Like, I mean, the thing that I think young guys struggle with coming into the NBA, and it's not just Udoka, it's a lot of other guys, what you did in college is almost irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how you trained in college is just not going to be good enough.
We saw this with Zion.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, you have to completely change the way you live your life to play in the NBA. It is not just a gimme or an easy trick to turn. Do you think they are betting on Hughes for a backup point guard? I don't know. We'll see. I think Trent Forrest is a guy they'd like to come in and handle the ball. I just don't think he has the handle yet, and he doesn't shoot threes well. So that's going to be, it'll be interesting to see. Watch Trent Forrest this summer. I mean, summer league's huge for him. There's guys, listen, I don't think this is any, breaking news, but I mean, the guys playing for the Jazz in summer, they're fighting for jobs. Those guys, there's not a lot of room on this roster like there was last year. The expectation's much higher. I mean, you're going to play probably 10 legit guys. If you're, guys like Udoka Azubuike, probably has a spot already, you would think. But is he going to play as much as he would have played now that Hassan Whiteside is here? Probably not. So maybe he's going to spend time in the G League. You start looking at the way that these signings are impacting players. And the other thing that I would say is this is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
If you're playing unproven young guys, I think that's an issue.
And you got to remember, Elijah Hughes is 6'8", so he's not going to be your point guard backup. He's not. I mean, he's going to be playing more 2-2-3. So I think that if Elijah Hughes is on the floor, with Don, let's say Don's probably running point. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I find so interesting is that you have a situation where you finally have competition for minutes. The Jazz haven't had that in a long time. All right, can we talk about a couple other things here, please? All right.
Yeah.
It is what we call the piss-off hour on the show.
Oh, boy.
Eviction, moratoriums, and unemployment checks.
The coronavirus.
I think we've got, the eviction moratorium that is now lapsed. I think it's much needed. I think we've got to stop COVID unemployment checks. You've got to stop because there are so many, and it, frankly, my perspective's a little different because I work with small business owners every day. Oh, wow, Kemba Walker's a free agent.
Going to the Knicks.
We'll see. We'll see if he goes to the Knicks. That's an interesting deal. Kemba Walker gets a buyout from Oklahoma City, according to Adrian Wojnarowski.
Whoa!
Woj bomb! Upon clearing waivers, Kemba has a plan to sign with the Knicks. That's interesting. Kemba Walker, you want to talk about a disappointment? Kemba Walker's a disappointment to me. That's a guy who left Charlotte thinking he was going to conquer the world, and he hasn't done squat since.
Yeah.
Anyway, there is such a labor shortage in the U.S. right now that it is untenable for business owners. Like, you're having to pay, we have an effective minimum wage of $20 an hour in this country. I mean, you can sit here and say that, I don't even know what it is off the top of my head, but everybody calling for, we need a $15 minimum wage per hour. Well, I'm telling you right now, it's like $20 an hour. For like landscape labor, contract labor, the ability to staff a retail store. I was talking to a business owner in Hawaii yesterday. Can't staff her store, so she can't sell more product. Like she has so much. She sells like vintage and rejuvenated furniture. She has a store that has a warehouse in the back where she stores and restores furniture. She can't hire a warehouse attendant because nobody wants to work because they're making more on unemployment because of COVID. We needed it. The bailouts were necessary. The unemployment was necessary. Right now, I think we got to put an end to that.
Yeah.
This country has to get back to work.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think it's just, at the end of the day, there's always going to be people who are upset that the free ride's coming to an end, but it's got to come to an end, and it's got to. I think it has to happen soon. I mean, I like ASAP, because at the end of the day, everyone always wants to say, well, we need our businesses open back up, and we need to be able to go in and go out to dinner and all these different things. But how do you do that if there's no labor, if there's no workers, if there's no employees?
I don't know.
You don't. That's the problem. So that's why I think, you gotta stop the aid and get people back to work. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, and I think that's a very difficult thing to do. And I think a lot of people, want to, what's the right way to say this? Like, a lot of people want to do the right thing by Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think largely we've done that during the pandemic. I mean, the money that has been spent has been incredible. But what I'm telling you is that you have got to find a way. You have got to find a way to build back America. You've got to find a way to put more people to work so that capital can be injected into the system so that more Americans can run their small businesses. So that's one thing that I'm so at the end of my rope with this right now, like I struggle with it.
Yeah.
I really struggle with it. Brylark says the unemployment checks have to stop as soon as possible. It's really straining business, especially the food industry. Oh man, the restaurant industry has been devastated.
Yeah.
There are still many restaurants in this country. Again, somebody I talked to yesterday, they closed. This restaurant was a 7-day-a-week juggernaut Chinese restaurant that delivered and had takeout. They're closed on Sunday and Mondays now because they simply don't have any labor outside of their family.
Well, Warren's in South Jordan at the district is short their hours.
Yes.
Because they don't have staff.
Yes.
So I mean, whether
Best
you're
French fries ever.
Yeah, man. I mean, even as established as they are, I mean, they're cutting hours. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that you have to, as we hedge further and further and further in the wrong direction with COVID. Again, I would just say, please get vaccinated. Please wear a mask. As we head further and further in the wrong direction, we can't do shutdowns again.
Yeah.
We can't do more bailouts. We can't do more unemployment. We can't do eviction moratoriums. And you can tell me that, you're just a damn Republican, or some days I'm a Republican, some days I'm a Democrat, depending on who I piss off. I'm telling you, the way to build this country is to stop the unemployment checks.
Yeah.
And to stop the eviction moratoriums. Get people off of unemployment back on the front lines.
Yeah.
If you're on the verge of getting evicted, and basically what people think is going to happen is that there's going to be a 90-day notice served to people who are behind on their rent or their mortgage. And forbearance is pretty significant right now on mortgages. They're going to get a 90-day notice. They need to go and get a job because that unemployment wage isn't paying their mortgage, or they've chosen not to pay it.
Yeah.
They need to go and get a job. And those jobs are servers, cooks, laborers. Those are the jobs that are available right now. I can't tell you how many companies I talk to who also have six-figure executive positions that they can't fill.
Yeah.
Directors of marketing, directors of advertising, directors, like a graphic design company that does websites here in Salt Lake City can't do a banner for me because he doesn't have a graphic designer anymore.
It's unbelievable. I mean, whether it's that or food or landscapers or plumbers or whatever, dude. I mean, it's everywhere. It's terrible. It is working through the economy every day.
Yeah, Olivia G says evictions should be stopped for now. You can't, but they've been stopped for so long. It's not about the tenant anymore. Is anybody thinking about the person who owns that building? And it's not, the Trump, corporation that owns 1 million buildings. You're talking about mom and pop landlords going out of business.
Yeah.
Do you understand how closely the mortgage default and eviction moratorium are together? Because a lot of the mortgage defaults are commercial, multi-unit, multi-family properties. And you're having them go into default on their mortgages because people are not paying the rents that live in their units.
Yeah.
And they can't evict them because there's an eviction moratorium. And so they're not paying insurance companies. They're not paying electricians. They're not paying landscapers. So those landscapers and electricians lose jobs. They lose laborers. They lay off skilled trades. This is a domino effect.
Yeah.
So we can't continue to say, okay, don't pay your rent. By the way, here's your unemployment check. You can't do it. You cannot do it. You have to stop. You've got to get people's hands out of the pockets of the government and put them back to work. And I agree with Gabe Ledley. Gabe Ledley says people don't want to go back to low-wage jobs where they're abused by people who have forgotten how to treat other human beings with decency.
Well,
I can't blame them.
I don't blame them, but that's, that's life, I guess. I don't know. What do you say to that? I mean, he's right. Gabe is right. But, as far as that situation is concerned, what do you do? You got
to get vaccinated, man. I'm telling you, the way out of this is to stop with this ridiculous, oh, we don't know the long-term impact. You do. Where are the deaths from? Where are all these incredible people who have died? Marjorie Taylor Greene. The people dying from vaccines, it's tragic and it just doesn't need to happen. Okay, where are all the people dying from vaccines? And you can say whatever you want. He works at CNN. I totally get it. Jim Acosta interviewed on the street, walked up to Marjorie Taylor Greene with a camera. She stopped, shockingly, because if you're Marjorie Taylor Greene, do you really want to be interviewed by Jim Acosta?
Does she know that was Jim Acosta? Does she know?
Oh, she has to know.
I mean, you would assume, but hey, I don't know. Who the hell knows?
He grilled her, and he's like, okay, well, where's the evidence? Oh, well, I said... She keeps throwing out stuff. Oh, well, vaccines this and vaccines that. Masks don't work. COVID's a scam. Where's the evidence? Well, it's out there. Okay, well, where is it? Well, she literally said, well, I saw it on social media. So you have no evidence. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who right now in this country is one of the leading dissenting voices against vaccinations, against masks in school, so we don't protect our teachers or our administrators in education. By the way, how many people are leaving the teaching profession? In droves. They don't want to be teachers anymore.
Why would you want to be a teacher?
You're not protecting teachers. You're not protecting administrators. And so when you have a bunch of young, inexperienced educators, what are we getting? American children that are not educated at the highest level. And that's been going on for decades. Now it's as worse as it's ever been. And by the way, what are we also getting? The rise of the private charter unaffordable education is what we're getting. The elite kids are getting educated. The
gap
inner city
is getting wider.
Exactly right. The inner city kids are not getting educated. And I'm telling you, you got to get vaccinated. Marjorie Taylor Greene is telling you that vaccinations are killing you because she saw it on Facebook. Are you serious? There is violence in this country right now because Donald Trump is supposed to be reinstalled as president on August 13th, according to Facebook. And MyPillow, the MyPillow douche he's going to have a rally. He was interviewed again the other day. He did this virtual thing. He cut it off because somebody was asking him why he hasn't produced any evidence that the election was stolen. He cut the thing off because that's the only question people were asking. And he's like, the trolls ruined our event. The trolls didn't ruin the event, bro. Mike Lindell, MyPillow. You don't have evidence. Marjorie Taylor Greene has no evidence.
How dumb do you think I am?
Hello? And this is Rand Paul going after Anthony Fauci, Dr. Fauci the other day. You have no evidence what you're talking about that vaccines hurt people. None. No evidence. And now you get Rand Paul saying that, well, look, vaccines don't work because there's breakthrough cases with Delta variant. Tell the people who have tested positive, who are not in the hospital, who are not in ICUs. Tell the people who have tested positive that are not vaccinated who are dying. Because almost every death in this country to COVID is an unvaccinated person.
Yep.
All of this to say, we've got to get the country back to work. We've got to, I'm telling you, one of the things you better get ready for, if you're going to go into your company's office again, which many companies are mandating their guys come back to work, their employees come back to work, you better be willing to get a vaccination because they are going to be mandatory. Wearing a mask, oh, my rights, you pricks. Yeah, get ready, wear a mask or you're not going to have a job. Get vaccinated or you're not going to have a job. Well, that's okay because they'll give us unemployment. Get ready, it's coming.
Yeah.
And you know what? I support it 100%. All of these yahoos in the NFL, I'm not getting vaccinated. That's my right. Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, neither vaccinated. Oh, vaccines are a scam, Bosa's girlfriend puts out yesterday. By the way, they're such a scam that 93% of NFL players are now vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
Are you serious? I love the fact that Bosa's like, well, I haven't had time to think about it. I haven't made a decision. The fuck you haven't. You made a decision. You're not getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
If you're not going to get vaccinated, have the balls to stand up and say, I'm not going to get vaccinated.
They don't. And that's the biggest thing. They don't.
So frustrating.
Yeah.
It's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
And look at what COVID has done to this world. Look at what the environment has done. Look at what the environment is doing. Are you telling me that COVID's fake, global warming's fake, this is fake, that's fake, Donald Trump had his face swapped, he's actually the president?
Luca's mom is real.
She is real. She hot as hell. Anyway, and now it's National Chocolate Chip Day because we have to go.
Mm-hmm.
You're a huge chocolate chip cookie fan.
Big time.
As am I, but I'm fat, so I can't eat them.
Yeah.
What is your favorite? Like, are chocolate chip cookies your favorite cookie? Like your favorite
peanut
cookie?
butter cookie is my favorite, dude.
I actually think we were eating Oreos the other day, and for the first time, I didn't eat like 1,000 Oreos. I had like 10 Oreos that day, and I was like, man, Nutter Butters are better than this. That's what I was thinking in my mind. Nutter Butters are a better cookie than Oreos.
Wow. I can feel the heat emanating from the comments on YouTube.
That's true.
I can feel it.
You know.
Are they better? Man, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's
they
tough.
Are, it's not quite. Tanner Plummer says Max Hall's mom is real. She is real. She had beer poured on her. Nobody poured beer on Max Hall's mom. What's your favorite cookie?
Peanut butter.
So, are you then agreeing that Nutter Butters are better than Oreos?
No. I'm
well,
saying
let's not get carried away.
Yeah, whoa.
Look, Chubbs, your cholesterol may be perfect, but let's not get carried away.
Hey, look here, man.
Yeah, come on, chill out, okay? Yeah, I'm saying that actual baked peanut butter cookies are the best. And then, for your Oreos and Nutter Butters and all that, I'm saying that golden double stuffs are hard to beat, but Nutter Butters are up there.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
You haven't made up your mind?
I don't know if I'm going to eat Oreos. I have to consult with the Bosa family. Nutter Butters are far better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we're talking Girl Scout cookies are like Seinfeld, they're overrated. They're good, but they're overrated.
Okay, we had a big time discussion about whether people should freeze their Thin Mints, and this was a thing.
Okay. Man, it's bad enough that people don't want to get vaccines, and I get it.
Do you, though?
Do you not? You don't freeze your Oreos?
No, Thin Mints.
Or your Thin Mints? Fuck off. You don't freeze your Thin Mints?
What's wrong with you?
I'm sick like you. Who doesn't freeze Thin Mints? I mean, besides Vladimir Putin.
Obviously.
Who doesn't freeze their Thin Mints?
I don't know.
I've had so many revelations this week that I just don't understand this. Yeah, I mean, this is a major bag alert. This is a major
bag alert.
Get on that bag. This is a major bag alert. You don't freeze your Thin Mints. Are you serious?
There are people that don't. I freeze them, but there are people that don't.
What kind? You know what? Look, again, I am. For the first time ever, I went to a doctor and he said I wasn't obese, and I was like, "Sir, you should go to the optometrist." But we were talking about BMI yesterday, and my doctor's like, "It's a bunch of garbage."
That's called body mass index,
and it's a bunch of garbage. And
that's HIPAA.
And so we're sitting there talking about it, and he's like, "You know what? The guy is like a younger dude too, which I appreciate. He's like, you know what? You're really healthy. Let's take care of a couple of the X, Y, and Z. He wants me to lose weight. No kidding. He's like, but if you just keep doing what you're doing, he said, you have almost no chance of ever having a heart attack or a stroke. Mm-hmm. He's like, you live a pretty healthy lifestyle. You're married to somebody who cares about cooking and being active. Mm-hmm. He said, if you just do what you do, you're likely going to be fine. But why not get better? Right. And that's my point. Why not get better at living life by freezing your Thin Mints?
Yeah, come on.
I don't understand this.
I don't know, man. I mean,
Yes, refrigerate your Snickers bars. What kind of savage doesn't refrigerate their Snickers? Are you serious? This would be like just taking Twix out of the package and just eating the Twix bar. Yeah. We all know, as normal red-blooded American men with tons of testosterone, we smoke chicken wings and we eat the caramel off the top of the Twix bar, and then we eat the Twix cookie. Right. We don't eat the Twix bar whole. I'm serious. What country do we live in?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Outrage.
I don't know. What's wrong with you? I got a call in 12 minutes. Anyway, now Britt's got to end the show. Didn't work out. No, we got to get on the phone.
Bro, you are cold-blooded with it, bro.
And Nye Guy's like, now I can start my day. No, you haven't. It's just relax. Tanner, AOC is a spicy Latina we all need in our lives. Okay.
You gotta fuck one, marry one, kill one. Go.
Okay. Marjorie Taylor Greene, AOC, or Nancy Pelosi.
You gotta fuck one, marry one, kill one. Go.
Luca's mom.
How about Bullet? How about Bullet? Nothing. Nancy Pelosi, in my opinion, is just a robot in a skin suit.
That's out of the window.
Nobody
A
is
skin suit.
Yeah, nobody's allowed to be that old. Okay? AOC, I have no idea if she's hot. She just pisses me off listening to her.
Mm-hmm.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene, A, is not hot, and B, is just a fanatic.
Mm-hmm.
She's that neighbor that nobody wants.
Infowars.com.
She's got tinfoil on her windows.
Infowars.com.
My guess is
tomorrow's news.
Yeah,
Today.
Never. My guess is, what do you want to bet dollars to donuts that Marjorie Taylor Greene is vaccinated?
And we were saying that.
I'll bet you $100 she's vaccinated.
Probably.
I would.
They're all
bet.
vaccinated.
You take the Tanner said AOC isn't hot. Eric C says you take that back, Tanner. She's. Brylark says if Bernie would have just come a little more to the center, he would have been the Democratic nominee. He just was too far left. That's true. Tanner says never. AOC's not hot. You know what, Mrs. Monty, if you could cover your ears for a minute.
Oh boy.
Like, she may be physically hot, but she opens her mouth and it's like, give me a pillow. Like, I just can't do this. I can't. No. All right, play the music because I got to get on the phone.
Wow. The hole that you've been digging yourself.
If somebody could
deep.
DM me a divorce attorney, because I think I'm probably going to need it. Anyway, there you go. Make sure you subscribe to this show. We're giving away a Traeger smoker at 2,500 subscribers. And no, I promise I won't give it to Girl Talk, because I ain't shipping a Traeger smoker to Australia.
Nah.
If you win and you're in Europe or Australia, you're paying the freight. I'm sending it COD. Anyway, freeze your Thin Mints and say goodbye.
Goodbye, Jake.